So who knows what these are? Bottle bricks. Or Ecobricks. What do we do with these?
Insulate a school.
Yeah, you can use these bottle bricks to build a school. I'm going to just pass these around if you all want to take a look. Feel how hard these are. There's a lot of trash goes into one of these. So bottle schools built out of plastic bottles. Why build bottle schools? If you're building a school that people need, using cheap materials, reused materials, cleaning the environment, and everyone's participating. The whole community has ownership of the project because no one is building the school for them. It's a community effort. Tell you a little bit about how we came about doing this. That's me, like 3 years ago, on my way to Granados, which in Baja Verapaz, Guatemala, which was the first Hug It Forward bottle school. And it was the idea of building with plastic bottles came from, as far as we know, a woman called Susanna, a German woman who lives at Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, who started just stuffing bottles full of trash and making benches, little walls, little sheds, things like that from it. And then that idea was taken up by a Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala, taken up by another Peace Corps volunteer, and that's how we heard about it through chance or fate or however you want to call it. And we came down to Granados and helped the community finish their project, finish this bottle school, which they were halfway through building. They'd run out of funds to do it. And once we'd seen how awesome it was in all these ways, how it brought the whole community together, how it cleaned the community of trash, how it was such an efficient way to build, we made it our personal mission to help more communities, build more schools, wherever there's a need. And here we are now, just 3 weeks ago, inaugurated school number 18. This is the 18th bottle school in the community of Santa Rosa, in San Martin Hilotepec, Guatemala. And so it's 18 bottle schools in about two and a half years. I'm going to talk a little bit now about how we build a bottle school. It's one of the questions we always get asked. How do we build a bottle school? It's pretty easy, really, if you follow the certain steps. First, you've got to collect trash, and unfortunately, in most of Guatemala, many Latin American countries, here included, there is a lot of trash around everywhere because there's no trash collection facilities, largely, or there's a lack of awareness about trash. So in the rivers, in the streets, in the fields, on the side of mountains, there's a lot of trash around. And collecting the trash is the first part of the process. And again, this is something that would be pretty hard for Gerson or myself or anyone to collect all the trash needed to build a bottle school. It has to be something that comes as a community effort because you need a lot of trash. And you see some kids here walking around their town collecting plastic bottles, plastic bottles, different shapes. They come in, Coke's a different shape to Pepsi, is a different shape to Big Cola or whatever. And collect them all and stuff them full of trash. And you can make it into a game, right? Kids, like playing, and kids will be proud. Look, I collected 60 bottles, and my friend only collected 50, and it gets people excited about their environment. So those bottles you've seen, a lot of work has gone into making those Ecobricks. As some of you here have tried making Ecobricks will testify, it takes like an hour to stuff a bottle properly, and it takes maybe 100 plastic bags, chip packets, chewing, chicle wrappers and all sorts of things like that. So it takes about 100 to fill a bottle, and you stuff it in with a stick or a piece of rebar or something like that till the bottles are kind of solid. They're pretty solid, like bricks. It's called Ecobricks. So once you have a good amount of bottles, you start digging your foundations. And a lot of building a bottle school, it's the same as building a regular school, a regular building that's built with concrete and rebar. And it's the same frame of a building, and it needs foundations, and the foundations are going to depend on your soil conditions and environment, how deep you need to do those, and you have to use your local advice and talk to local masons will know, and local engineers will know what that's like, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach. The frame of the building it's cement, it's concrete with reinforced with rebar. See there's a frame of a bowl school, and a few bowls gone into the wall over there, but it's mostly just a frame. One of the key differences when you're putting your frame together, compared to a regular building is that you have to put these pins. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. You have to put pins into the beams and the columns. And then the pins are just a rebar that's spaced like 8 inches, más o menos, apart. And the reason is that you are going to attach chicken wire to those pins. So if you imagine you have your columns, you have your beams, and your pins coming out the columns and beams, you get a roll of chicken wire, stretch it tight between the two columns, and use the pins to fix it in place. And once you have the chicken wire, you can then tie rows of bottles to it. I don't know how well you can see that, but if you have your chicken wire, you have like a bottle, like you're just tying it with string, essentially, like a long roll of twine. Yeah, and it goes pretty fast if you do it in pairs. It has to be done in pairs, which is kind of cool. You have one person on one side pushing a loop of twine through, and the other person is placing the bottle. Then you push it back, put a loop through, and place the bottle in. So you're tying a row of bottles to the chicken wire, and then you put another row. The second row goes upside down, so it fills in the gaps. Imagine it sort of interlocks the shapes. You kind of see it there, how that comes together. And then once you see on a bigger scale how it all is, the bottles in that wall of that same school where you before just sort of frame. And then once you're done with putting all the bottles in the wall, you just fling cement stucco on top on both sides. So you get three layers, two layers, and then the final layer is a smooth layer to finish it. So really, what you have in the end is you have like this much cement on either side, bottle sandwich in the middle, in between the chicken wire, and then from the outside, you can't even tell that the schools are made of plastic bottles. It looks just like a regular cement or cement building, which is pretty neat. But the difference is, of course, that there's bottles in the wall, and because of that, it's cheaper. Bottles provide really good insulation, and you're using up all the trash. Roof. It's generally like this. It's laminar. It's tin. We've had people do other sorts of roofs as well in the past. Like you can improvise. You can use like palm or thatch or whatever. Laminar for all its faults. It's cheap and it's durable. And that's the final stage. Put the doors and windows in, and then we leave these little gaps in the cement stucco, because otherwise you would never know that these bottles are made of the walls are made of bottles. So we always leave at least one little window like this, where you can look into the wall and see the bottles inside. The construction process itself, from the foundations through to the roof, it can be around 3.5 months on average, which is similar to a regular building. It can be done a little bit quicker if you push it. Sometimes it takes longer for unforeseen delays. Stuffing the bottles and collecting them, it kind of really depends on the community. How many people there are in the community, number one, how motivated they are, how much trash there is around. I mean, we've seen people stuff all the bottles in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And something that we didn't mention before is that we need 6,200 bottles for that 2-classroom school. So it's a lot of bottles.
And then what's the major cost that is involved in building schools? The concrete?
Yeah, cement is a big cost, and the roof, and then like the metal work for the roof, the windows and the doors, that stuff's expensive. So the classrooms we're talking about, they're 6 meters, a little bit more, 6.5 by 9, or something like meters. So they're good sized classrooms and nice high roofs. And no, we don't build the bathrooms. Normally what we're doing with the bottle schools is we're replacing existing buildings that are unsuitable. So for example, because most communities, if you're living in a community and there's no school for your kids, you're going to find a way to build something for your kids to go to. So there'll be cornstalk huts or huts built out of adobe, or things built with just sometimes wooden supports and just like a tin roof on top. So there's generally some sort of structure there, but it's not really what you would call the best learning environment for children. So often that existing school has some sort of bathroom facility or kitchen facility, and what we're creating is better classrooms for kids. But there's other really good reasons to build a bottle school versus any other sort of school. And that's partly it's about one of the big things is about cleaning up the community of trash. And so, we saw in Granados, that first school, we went there and there was trash everywhere in the streets, and by the time we left, not only was there no trash in the streets, but they didn't have enough trash in that one school. So the community, kids got in the back of a pickup truck and went to neighboring villages to collect trash in those villages. And then we found in other places to this day where if a community doesn't have trash, other communities help them and collect trash in their own villages and bring it there. So it really brings people together, cleans the community of trash, but then it's also educating these kids about the environment. So none of these, and I'll talk a little bit more about environmental education later in the presentation, but it's, these kids are never, and adults as well, are never going to be throwing trash again thinking that it's going to biodegrade. I mean, that's the lesson. So it's changed things for a generation, and there won't have to be this sort of cleanup operation
Is that what
in
you've seen?
the future.
The reduction of, has anyone gone back to communities afterwards?
Absolutely, we go back all the time, totally, absolutely. And and the final really good thing about bottle schools is the participation. You can build an Adobe school, but if it's 600 people in a village or 300 people in a village, not all 300 of those people are going to be building the Adobe school. With a bottle school, every person in the village participates, so it's really their school. That's the really cool thing about it.
However, the construction complies with international rules of construction. That's the first thing. And then the other thing, in Guatemala, basically you don't need a permit to build a school, because you can use any kind of material to build a school. Like Henaal was saying a few minutes ago, people in communities, they use whatever resources they have, for a school. So for us, I think when High Forward started, because I started 8 months ago with them, I don't think they needed some sort of a permit, so it was easier. But when people come to us, like donors come to us, asking about what are we doing with these bottles, we do have a certification. We do comply with international laws of construction.
It's just like building with blocks. The only difference is, you've got bottles instead of cinder blocks. So that was the how, right? The how bottle schools. I'm going to talk a little bit about the hug it forward model, how we do things. I've probably touched on some of these points already. But as I said before, participation. Participation is the key thing. You see some kids here collecting bottles, transporting bottles. They work on the building site. Whole community comes together. And what I mean by that is, within small communities, there can be, to just Joe's point, there can be divisions, right, on base of religion or gossip or whatever, right? Just little divisions that crop up. But what a bottle school does, it brings the whole community together, regardless of whatever divisions there might be, because there's something that unifies them, right? It's something for the benefit of all. Because there's no private schools to send your kids to. There's no other schools. All the parents' kids are going to be going to that same school. They're going to be coming together, so everybody works equally. And the project leader in the community will generally keep like a tab, of who has contributed. Like you'll have like a workbook where the name of everybody in the community or every family, and check off like that person, those people have bought their share of bottles, or those people that family has contributed their labor. So it's really everybody. There's no getting out.
Yeah, even couples that are married but they don't have kids, they're invited to participate, because we know that eventually they will have family and that the kids will use the school as well. So they're also invited to
Do
participate.
you ever have issues with people not getting involved?
Not getting
Involved?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I've
not
never heard
really.
of any. It really is, and part of the reason for that is the preparation. The preparation that Gerson puts in when he goes into communities. They have to really show the willingness, and Gerson is very upfront with them when he goes into community, saying this is a community effort. If you guys are not all in, then that's fine, but we'll just, there's other communities that do want this really bad. So that's part of the thing, and there's an understanding that if anything happens during the project, if they don't contribute labor, they don't contribute bottles, if some of the materials go missing, then that's it. One strike and you're out. So it takes 6,200 bottles to build a bottle school. And one of the questions we get asked sometimes is, could you build a house like with plastic bottles with the same technique? And yeah, you could, but 6,200 bottles is a lot of bottles to collect. And the reason it works is because it's a community coming together. And so say there's 60 families in the community, which is about typical, 60 to 80 or communities say, there would be like 100 bottles per family. And you know, say there's 5, 6, 7 kids in a family, then you know, it's 15 to 20 bottles per person to collect, which you can do. You know, so because everybody takes part.
If the kids are required to bring 60 bottles, it's not just the kids, it's the family. You know, so they involve everybody in the family. They involve their uncles and cousins. They involve everybody in the community. So it's the whole community working on the project.
And because of that, everyone has ownership. The school belongs to the whole community. It's not some gringos come in and building a school. It's not someone built a school, government built a school for the community. Community builds the school. It's a really important part of it. This was just taken a couple of weeks ago, this photo, preparing the community, having these meetings. And it starts, you know, months before the construction starts, is having these meetings with the community, explain to them how the bottle school works, what it is, what they have to do, what everyone's responsibilities are. And forming a committee of people to manage the project. And, you know, Hug It Forward's intention is to, you know, take as much of a backseat role as possible. Really empower the community to manage the project, lead the project, carry out the project themselves.
And this is in El Salvador, and he's a Peace Corps volunteer.
And you know, as a result of that, people are proud. You know, there's a lot of community pride in delivering this successful project. And these kids are going to be able to say something that no kids in my country or, you know, in your country, the States, are ever going to be able to say is that I built my school. You know, people, and that makes them really excited about learning and going to school, and it makes the teachers excited about teaching there. And you can't buy that. That has to come through participation, through ownership, and hard work goes into that. Environmental education, as I touched on before, is a key part of the Bottle School program. Because I don't know how well you can see, but looking at classifying different things into organic and inorganic. You know, learning the difference, and learning the difference about what you can recycle, what you can't, what you can put into bottle bricks, what you can't. And once you know you educate kids when they're young, those lessons will stay with them, and they'll educate their parents and then, you know, their children in the future. So to go back to the question I asked the question before, how to build bottle schools, talk through the construction. Well, the real answer to how we build bottle schools is community. That's what it's about fundamentally. It's about community coming together. And you know, in communities such as Grenada, such as Pachai, the power of people working together, the power of that belonging, of that oneness is something that you can't put a price on. It's unbelievable. Our vision for spreading bottle schools around the world is a thing called the Bottle School Manual. So it's bottleschools.org. You can find it. It's a wiki. Which means anybody can go in and edit it. It's open source. You don't have to need our permission to go build a bottle school. This is it. It's a step-by-step guide, constantly evolving. We were hoping to have the printed version ready for this conference. It's not quite there yet. It's going to be really good when it does come out though. So watch this space, and it's going to be English, Spanish, other languages too down the line. And so anyone can take this. It's everything you need from all the things about preparing the community, environmental education, how you select a site, how you empower the community to take ownership, and right down to the step-by-step of the construction. And in El Salvador, there's a Peace Corps volunteer called Sarah Sterling. She found the Bottle School Manual online, and she wrote to us saying, I'm going to go build a bottle school. Can you help me? And we said, no, you know, we don't really build bottle schools in El Salvador. We're in Guatemala. And she said, well, I want to do it anyway. And she sent 2 of her masons from El Salvador to Guatemala to live in a community in San Martin Jalatepeque for 3 days, and they worked alongside the masons in Guatemala, learning the bottle technique. Went back to El Salvador, modified the technique, because I don't know how well you can see here, but they have bigger bottles largely in El Salvador. You don't really get so many of these 20-ounce bottles. You have more like 1.25 litre, 44-ounce bottles there. And they're just more common. So they adapted the technique so you could use the bigger bottles. They changed the roof because they have high winds there, so they lowered the pitch of the roof, made it shallower, and made a few other modifications. And they pretty much just went ahead and did this. And once we heard they were doing this, we said, well, okay, well, that's pretty awesome. And we supported them with some funding and technical advice as well. And we're fortunate to be able to go down to El Salvador and witness the inauguration. in May. And so that's the first bottle school outside of Guatemala. In El Salvador, there's another one that we saw Mike, the picture of Mike earlier. He is leading another bottle school. Hopefully we get to start that in the next few months. Then we have our friends from Ladakh, Cynthia and Tashi, who are awesome. And they came on their way to this conference. They came to Guatemala for 8 days, about 8 or 9 days. They stayed in Pachay, where you saw the environmental education. Here they are with their host family, working alongside the masons, learning all the different parts of the technique. And there you see Tashi putting a bottle in a wall. And it's so awesome. I don't even really know how you guys found us by some quirk of the universe. And Omprakash. There we go. Well done. Thank you, Omprakash. Thank you, Omprakash. There we go. The magic of Omprakash. And now they are going, after this conference, to go back to Ladakh to build bottle buildings in Ladakh, which is so cool. So cool.
I have two different roles in the organization. One is building the schools, the construction, working closely with the masons and the foremen. And the other part is working with the groups. We host groups volunteers. AGC a couple of months ago visited us, and they spent 1 week in the community, specifically in Santa Rosa. And part of my job is to prepare the community for all the groups. So one of the things that I do is that I visit the communities that are interested in building a bottle school. And then we also prepare the communities to host groups so they know what to expect. We do different, there's a lot more than just bottle schools. We are trying to change lives, trying to change the life of the volunteers, of the people that live in the communities, and ours. So what we do is that we go to the community, we hold meetings with the local community leaders, with the teachers, with the students, and the whole community. And we have a community hike. We talk about migration, which is really big in Guatemala. We also talk about the civil war in Guatemala, that's part of our history. So there are a lot of activities, and we explain all those activities to the community members. So they understand that the group is coming to be part of the construction. They're not going to Guatemala to build a bottle school for them. We want them to understand that this is a community project, and we're just here to support their project. And they feel really privileged to have a group of students or a group of teachers, like in this case, coming to their community and work with them. And it's incredible, after when we talk to the community and we hear the feedback, they always say that they learn a lot about these groups, and the groups say the same thing. They've learned a lot about the community. So it's a long process. The whole process, like Henaal mentioned, it's about 5.5 months, and two of those 5.5 months is preparing the community for the groups and for the projects as well. When we started in San Martin Jilotepeque, we were looking for the schools that needed more classrooms. Now we have schools coming to us, a community coming to us asking for classrooms. I receive a phone call almost every day about our school. And what happens is that we go to the community first. We do a kind of like a site verification first. We meet with the local community members, we meet with the teachers, the PTA. We make sure that this is what they really want and need. We never go and say, hey, you need a bottle school, because they can see that the roof of that bottle school is like, that school is like off. We ask them what they want. I had the experience because I worked with a different organization before. And one of the things that I realized is that all the communities needed a school. And I was wondering, maybe one day I will find an organization that builds schools. And then they found me, or I found them, whatever, but it just worked out well. So now I know all these communities that need a bottle school. So I go there and I ask, what do you need? What are your dreams? So for us, and to be honest with you, I guess we have the privilege or the blessing that it's been very easy for us to motivate these communities, because they already know what they want. One of the things, and this is very important, is that How It Forward goes there and we talk to the community leaders, but it's the community leaders doing all the job. They have to motivate all the people.
So, you know, our goal with Hug It Forward, it's partly about education, right? But it's bigger. It's bigger than that. It's about a change of consciousness around the world with regard to trash, with regard to consumption, with regard to how we relate to our natural environment. It's at the same time as providing real tangible benefits: schools, educational opportunity, possibility, ownership, participation, empowerment. As well as that, bottle schools represent something, a bigger idea, and a way of communicating with the world about that idea. And so one way we've started doing this recently is through volunteerism. And this is not something we didn't set out to necessarily do volunteerism trips. It kind of happened that way. We wanted to take one of our big donors, two of our major donors, to visit bottle school to show them where their money went, so they could have a direct experience with their donation. They came, and when they came, they had this amazing experience, similar to the experience that Zach and I and the other volunteers had when we first came to the bottle school in Granada. So we thought, wow, you know, we can change people's lives through these experiences. The way that people are changing their lives in community, changing their own lives in Guatemala, people can change their lives by having experiences with their communities. And that's what volunteerism gives us the opportunity to do. And this is two people working on, in April, working on a bottle wall. Connecting cultures, making people realize that the world is really a small place. And for all our external differences, we speak different languages, we look different, we have different stories, but really deep down, we're all one people. It's, like I said, showing the world is a small place, connecting people across cultures, breaking down some of these stereotypes that people have. And even if the only thing that people learn on the trips is don't believe everything you see on TV, then, you know, we've done our job. But also people to think more consciously about how you consume. We can figure out better ways of doing things than plastic and then throwing trash away. Because you throw stuff away, there's no such place as away. It all goes somewhere, it goes into a landfill somewhere, takes thousands or millions of years to decompose. And there's no need for that. And I think when we as a species start thinking more consciously about all those things that we do, then it changes not just how we consume, but how we relate to other people.